Ladies and gentlemen, it is lightning round. My name is Arthur Smith, and we will put our three players up against anybody else's 53-man roster on Better Sports Network, on Fantasy Alarm. Alien Cooper, as I'm reading your name, I know you got a job to do, but how are we doing this evening?
Greetings, Arthur. Arthur, how do you feel about fantasy football?
Yeah, we're not going to be worried about fantasy football right now. We're not trying to placate and cater to their whims. We've got a roster. We got a big game against Minnesota coming up, so we're not going to be worried about that. We're not going to be worried about fantasy football. They don't drive the ship here. All 53 men, all the staff here, they drive the ship.
I love that he was like, if I have to give 1 million carries to Tyler Algier to shut you guys up, I will. Right?
Yeah, I did yell across the sideline to Braves, like, CP's getting this carry right here.
Right.
So.
Yeah. Unbelievable, dude. Unbelievable. Yeah. So did you actually get a Falcons backdrop or is that green screen?
Screen.
They just sell those?
No, I photoshopped that.
That's awesome, dude.
Not only that, I shaved my face for the first time in a decade. Kept the mustache. I've never done this. It's a little scary, but full commitment.
Dude, I've been thinking about shaving my face. What's it like, dude? Does it feel weird?
It is a little weird, not gonna lie. As someone who has done it in about a decade, it hurt a little bit, but it does. Yeah, our producer Brian Burns, it does feel cold. I just noticed, when the heat kicked on, just feeling the air, my face is a lot, and from the Noogs, our own Britt Flinn here,
our injury doctor, the plague doctor,
Too many injuries going around to risk it.
Look, Britt, you're part of our 3-person roster here. We will put this 3-person roster up against anybody else's on YouTube in the league. Got a great group of people, great staff behind us, working behind the scenes. So definitely like what we have here.
Hey, I have a little bit of a headache.
Trust me, so do I. Bijan Robinson didn't do what he was supposed to be doing, coming off a headache. Certainly kept him off for precautionary reasons, but next man up, whether it's Tyler Algier, whether it's Tyler Huntley, whether it's Jamal Anderson, work done. Anybody we have back here.
Caleb Williams.
Anybody. Absolutely anybody. But you know what? We do have a show here, but it is not just me placating as Arthur Smith. We will be talking about it. I want to call it Black Sunday because the quarterback situations that have that have kind of transpired over this week. Not great, Bob.
It was horrific. Hence why I'm in the plague costume, because everybody is getting hurt. I'm terrified that it's going to leach over to me, that I'm going to get hurt, trip over the dogs or something and get hurt. Don't like it. Makes waivers completely disgusting. Trying to find a fill-in for not only your quarterbacks on bye, but your quarterbacks who got injured. And then we have to talk about how it's going to affect all the position players. And I don't like it at all.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, I was like looking at it and I'm saying to myself, okay, Deebo Samuel's been hurt. George Kittle has a couple good games. Maybe it's time to go out and trade George Kittle. And I'm thinking to myself, what tight end do you trade for right now? Because Darren Waller's hurt. TJ Hawkinson just lost Kirk Cousins, right? No one's trading away Travis Kelce and Mark Andrews. So what do you do? I mean, it's like you want to sell high on George Kittle, but there's not even anyone to go get, right?
Trey McBride, baby.
Trade up, trade a parade. The thing about Trey McBride and Kincaid, like we hope that they quote unquote can't go back in the bottle, but I mean, Ertz and Knox will be back. So you're taking
Ertz was already losing work to McBride, though. That's the one thing.
He was, but at the same time, like when you look at the high end guys, it's a matter of where does it go? How far does it go? Like look at Michael Mayer. Like he's got the job now, quote unquote, but he's still not running all the routes because they still have to mix in Austin Hooper for a handful. If Zach Ertz retains 25% of the routes, then that kills McBride. right? It's like you still need it to, like we always say, oh, he was overtaking the job, but it's not like quarterback. We're not talking about punter here where you just have one punter. Like it has to go all the way. It has to go all the way. And I'm not sure. I still worry that it's not quite going to go all the way. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. If anybody knows about playing old veterans above guys that should be playing, it's me. So
Arthur Smith.
Please explain yourself why Cordero Patterson is getting snaps.
Look, we have a 53-man roster. We have to get everybody involved. It's not just a one-person effort. I know everybody wanted to get, everybody in fantasy football land wanted to get Bijan Robinson involved. We just can't do that. We got a 53-man roster. Next man up, whether it's CP, whether it's Tyler Algier, whether it's Caleb Huntley, whether it's Work Done, whether it's, Mike Rozier, anybody. Throw them back there. We're going to get the job done with our run game, with our offensive line.
Arthur Smith, dude. Unbelievable. Seller says you got to get Taysom Hill. Taysom Hill, honestly, I included him in the rankings. I moved him up a little bit because, he ran 37 routes, 44 routes, the games that Juwan Johnson was out. But this week, Juwan Johnson came back. He still ran 15 routes, but Juwan ran more routes than him. So if my advice on Taysom Hill is if you like Taysom Hill before, you still like him. And if you didn't like him before, then now you don't like him again. Simple as that.
Yep. I actually had to plug my nose and include him in the waiver wire article this week because I haven't in weeks past, because I was like, when Juwan Johnson gets back, he's just going to be odd man out. He's not going to do anything. But it seems like they do have these design packages. So even though he is getting limited snaps, when he's on the field, he's going to do something. And with the tight end wasteland that we're dealing with, it is what it is. I'm just going to plug my nose and take my medicine.
Before, so that's the thing, is that for a bit there, he was getting targets and carries. And that's when I was like, okay, now this is a guy I can start, right? Because all my leagues are some sort of PPR, right? He got like 5 targets. He got like 7 targets and 5 targets. But this week he got 1. I mean, he still got a target. I would just like to see him if he could just get like 2 or 3 targets and 2 or 3 carries, then that's something that I can trust. It's so hard when I look around, like, I spend so much time grabbing tight ends that I in most cases I have a Laporta or a Kincaid or a Trey McBride or an Evan Engram or something. But yeah, if there's nothing out there, Taysom Hill's better than half the league. He's better than any tight end on Seattle. He's better than any tight end option on the Chargers. Even with the Gerald Everett injury, I'd still start him over like Parham or Donald or Smart. I'd start him over every tight end. There's another one that escapes me right now where they use 3 tight ends and Colts, yeah, you should end up with nobody. Although I kind of do want to stash Jelani Woods. Just saying.
Yeah, I just wish we had a player like Taysom Hill. You know how many Kyle Pitts routes we wouldn't be giving him if Taysom Hill was on this team?
Oh my God, yeah. If Taysom Hill was on the Falcons, megastar.
But yeah, let's talk about some of these quarterbacks, and because we talked about kind of briefly, Kirk Cousins obviously out for the season. We have yet to get some word on who they will be adding, because they're undoubtedly going to be adding somebody, whether it's through the trade market or somebody that's sitting at home eating Cheez-Its on the couch. But we saw Jaron Hall. Don't think he's the answer, certainly, but. The rumored innuendo is that one Jameis Winston is a name being floated out there. I don't know about you guys, but if Jameis Winston goes to the Minnesota Vikings and he's able to start for the rest of the year, I'm not downgrading the weapons in Minnesota that much.
Yeah, he could be the only savior.
Right.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I thought you were done. You go ahead.
I was just saying, bringing up Carson Wentz, bringing up Colt McCoy, bringing up those guys who have been free agents. If they come in, then you definitely have to downgrade them. Jameis lost his job due to injury last season, and he was still a pretty good quarterback in his time in New Orleans. So I think that he would be the only good option that would make me feel confident.
Yeah, I'm okay with anybody that's like not really a game manager, anybody that's willing to chuck it. You know what I mean? Like Jameis Winston is willing to throw it downfield. Even honestly, Joe Flacco last year with the Jets, for what it was worth, he was throwing 50 times a game. Like whenever I look at Ryan Fitzpatrick, when he used to come in and jump on teams, he had no fear. He wasn't going in and playing timid and being a game manager. Whereas there's a lot of guys that I worry that's what they would be. You mentioned Colt McCoy, probably a perfect example, right? Or a guy like Matt Ryan, like he's very conservative. Kirk Cousins, what we loved about him is that they would call a pass play and he would throw it. Like some of these guys, you look at Sam Howell, they call a ton of pass plays. He only throws it like 83% of the time. He's scrambling around, he's throwing it away, he's taking more sacks than anybody in the league. Kirk Cousins, say what you will, they would call a pass play, he'd throw it every single time. Like doesn't throw it away. He's throwing it like 97% of his pass plays. So I want somebody that's willing to call the play. They're willing to just stand back there and chuck it up if they have to. And that's Jameis. So he's probably our best bet at keeping fantasy consistency going here. I'm worried that they're going to sit back and say, let's just start Sean Mannion or
right. He's on the practice squad.
Yeah, Nick Mullins too floating around, like, I don't know. Scary times.
It really is. I mean, on this All Hallows Eve here, it is pretty scary. And then we've got not only that, but Matthew Stafford, what is it, a torn UCL or at least a sprained UCL in his thumb, likely going to miss the next couple weeks, I'd say at least. So that's going to be pretty dicey here. Brett Rippon came in for him. They're in the market as well. I have seen Carson Wentz kind of bandied about there, but that's going to be very dicey for Cooper Kupp, Puka Nacua, no matter who's throwing the ball, because you probably got to downgrade them a full tier down to what wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3, almost no matter who is throwing them the ball.
How brings up an interesting one, Andy Dalton, because you think he's conservative, but the one game he started this year, he threw like 60 times, right?
Yeah. Yep.
So I wouldn't be super opposed to that. I just hope that they I do want them to bring in a veteran rather than just going with Nick Mullins,
Here comes Chase. Is that Chase Daniels music?
Oh boy, that's the one, dude. Get him in. So what do you guys think about like Teddy Bridgewater?
Teddy Bridgewater would be totally fine.
Yeah, he's fine. I mean,
compared to the options that are out there, like he's probably in the top tier.
He doesn't. The one thing is he really doesn't take a lot of shots downfield, though.
No.
Yeah, very low ADOT guy.
Be good for
Hawk.
That'd be good. That'd be good for
Hawk.
Yeah.
Right. Is a guy that can execute the offense. Like he's the guy you want. Yeah. We're not going to talk about. Sorry. Go ahead, Britt.
I was just going to say, I also heard on Matthew Stafford, so that it was he was day to day because it was only a sprain and not a complete tear, and that it was just a mild sprain. So the ligament's not torn, that it's just stretched and swollen. So he could potentially be back this week instead of Brett Rippon. But even then, what have the Rams done over the past 2 weeks? Like nothing.
What's interesting with the Rams is in that situation is they reached out to John Walford. Do you guys see that?
Yeah, and he was on the Tampa's practice squad.
He said no. Yeah, he said, and at the time we thought he was actually just going to stay on the practice squad, but now the Bucs are apparently going to elevate him to the 53-man roster to protect him from both the Vikings and the Rams. So
that's smart.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah. We are not going to be talking about the Atlanta Falcons quarterback situation, although I will say Desmond Ridder was cleared from concussion protocol. We wanted to just kind of protect him out there and give Taylor the rest of the game to get some good reps in. But I will be announcing who is the starting quarterback on our game against Minnesota tomorrow. So be on the lookout for my press conference.
There you go, dude. These coaches, dude, I believe that about as much as if he had said nothing at all, because we've already seen this week a situation where a team said that they were going to start a certain quarterback and they've already taken that back with the Arizona Cardinals, right? They said we're starting Joshua Dobbs.
They changed their tune.
I want to talk about that. What is it? Somebody said that, and I'm not sure if this is a direct quote from him or not, but somebody said that he watched the film and actually decided that that Dobbs needed to be benched.
I saw that too.
Very strange that, first of all, that's what happened. And second of all, that he would say that to a reporter or to anybody. I find that hard to believe that he would come out and say, oh, by the way, it's because of the film, especially in a situation where you have multiple teams now that are willing to trade for quarterbacks. Why would you come out and say, hey, by the way, just in case anybody was thinking about trading for this player, I watched the film. This guy sucks.
Don't you have quality control coaches to do that for you? Why is it Jonathan Gannon's job to be film grinder, like Dynasty Fantasy Football Bro?
Defensive coordinator Former defensive coach Jonathan Gannon just deciding that he's going to watch the film and bench a quarterback. I don't know, man. But I'll tell you what, if that quote is true, that's the stupidest thing you could say in a market where you have to protect John Wolford from teams. You're gonna destroy the value of your current starting quarterback. Way to go, dude. Very nice.
2 thumbs up. I mean, this is the guy that says pew 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 pew. So I mean, I don't put it past him.
Yeah, criminal, dude.
Absolutely. And then I want to go into also, God, that Giants game, Giants Jets, was a cure for insomnia. Like the fact that Tyrod Taylor got hurt, Tommy DeVito of Syracuse fame came in to score a touchdown on the ground and then literally hand the ball off to Saquon Barkley like a billion times. I think he had 36 rushing attempts when I was said and done. But I mean, Taylor might be, or Daniel Jones might be back, but that's still like that whole game. Like, no, absolutely not. That was not it.
They threw for 7 yards.
Yeah,
it was
Had
horrific.
10 air yards as a team. Like that's. Carolina had a game where I believe they were like negative 18 air yards last year, that's the lowest that I've seen. But still, 10 air yards is like you threw the ball a combined 30 feet. Like
Kendall Hinton threw for more air yards.
For real. It's wild times here. Kenny Pickett left the game with a rib injury. Mitch Trubisky played the rest of the game. They got a short turnaround to Thursday Night Football, which we will be building a showdown lineup. I have to recuse myself from that because, I'm Arthur Smith. I don't want to be, getting in bed with the DFS and all that stuff.
No, I think it'd be all right for this one.
Think so?
Yeah, I think it'll be fine. I think even you don't know who you're going to play on Thursday, so I think it's pretty fair to let you do a DFS lineup.
I think you have a point there.
Yeah, so Kenny Pickett, I mean, like, this is the one where I look at it, and I truly think that how much of a downgrade is this? I mean, there are certain situations, like with Anthony Richardson to Gardner Minshew, in terms of quarterback play, it's a downgrade because of the mobility, but for passing purposes, Minshew, I think, has been just fine. Whereas, Anthony Richardson, we didn't know what we were going to get. In this case, I think it's fairly lateral, to be honest. Like, I know long-term Kenny Pickett has more upside, and he's obviously the younger player, and we're rooting for him. But I don't know if Mitch Trubisky's that much worse than Kenny Pickett. I don't think Kenny Pickett's this year, right as of right now, is all that good. So I don't know. What do you guys think?
Kenny Pickett.
It's about where I'm at. I'm not. Kenny Pickett really hasn't inspired a lot of confidence in me to not that I really have him to be able to go starter or anything like that, but we know Deontay Johnson being back certainly helps things. I mean, the fact that, by the way, Deontay Johnson running more downfield routes was not something I had in my bingo card. I thought George Pickens was just ticketed for a massive day, and that didn't really materialize. It was literally Deontay Johnson and the rest. So, but Trubisky going in there, not much of a downgrade, but do you really want either at this point? I mean, jury's kind of out on both.
Well, at least Trubisky has rushing upside. Kenny Pickett has no upside whatsoever. It might hurt your fantasy options, like the pass catchers, but Pickett hasn't scored over 15 points except in one game this season. And he's had games of 4.5, not when he wasn't injured. Like it just, his floor is, there's no upside whatsoever with Pickett.
Right. I mean, it's almost like Mac Jones and Bailey Zappi, where I just say, who cares? Right. It's like, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. And as to Britt's point, Bailey Zappi is a little more fun to watch. I think Trubisky might be more fun to watch, even if the outcomes end up being worse. More turnovers, more sacks, fumbles, interceptions. At least it's a little more fun. Like he's a little more he scoots around a little more. So same thing with Zappi. Like, I don't know if Zappi's better than Mac Jones, but Mac Jones is just so conservative, right? It's just, at least it's more fun to watch.
Right. And I do see, by the way, we did get a question here from Twitch Gang here. Got Aaron Jones, Mostert, Jacobs, and DeAndre Swift, but in a desperate need for a wide receiver 1-2. Any thought on who I can trade for what? maybe. I mean, I don't know what you can really get for Aaron Jones at this point because he's kind of damaged goods here. But I mean, maybe
I'm personally like Aaron Jones for the first time played more than 50% of the snaps of those guys. And this is a guy I have a lot of, drafted a ton of them, believed in him, in a backfield that was ambiguous. Raheem Mostert is a guy that I think right now you can sell for like, this is one of those situations we see it every year. And as a Mostert owner, a guy that has a lot of Mostert, I sit here and I say, I hope this doesn't happen. But in the back of my mind, I know it's kind of going to, where they have Devon Achane coming back, man. And he's still like RB 14 in fantasy football. He played 4 games. He's still RB 14 in PPR. That guy's coming back at some point. And I look at what Mostert's been doing. He scored again this week, which helps his trade value. I just feel like that's the guy that I would try and
move. Yeah, but I don't really feel like Jones, Jacobs, Swift has been okay, but I don't know who's going to take those. Like their name brand, they look good on paper, but their production doesn't back that up.
right.
So I just don't really know what you can get out of those guys.
Right. Like maybe like a Jacobs I'm trying to think of like guys that you can pick up right now, like a Jacobs for like a DJ Moore, that kind of.
Well, I mean, you look around, it's like Jacobs hasn't been amazing, but he's still a top 10 running back in total points, right? So, which I mean, people will still value him as like top 15 or so.
West Coast, he's West Coast Mixon.
Yeah, like why can't you get like a wide receiver 2? Like here's the guys in the wide receiver 2 range. Let me know. And I don't know if you want to trade for Devontae Adams right now, who's technically wide receiver 13, but the wheels are completely off there.
Yeah.
But like Jacobs, could you get a Mike Evans, Christian Kirk, Terry McLaurin, Brandon Jacob, Nico Collins, Jacoby Myers? I don't think any of those players are out of reach necessarily for trading away Josh Jacobs. No, I mean Jacoby Myers.
I mean, Mike Evans would be like the one guy that I'd be targeting of that whole group. The other ones kind of don't feel. I feel like you need like those guys plus. Like you say, Ayuk was in there too.
Well, I'll say Ayuk is currently wide receiver 18, but he missed a game. So then
Jacobs for Ayuk could be totally fine.
Yeah. So then I guess if you're talking about Jacobs, then maybe you're talking about guys that are back end wide receiver 1s right now. I mean, like what about like Michael Pittman? Yeah. He's wide receiver 12 on the season. I mean, Jordan Addison, the Addison owner's got to be pretty worried right now about what's going to happen. So maybe you go that way. But the thing is, you're not going to get anybody in the top 10. Like here's the top 10. Wide receiver 10 is CeeDee Lamb. You're not going to be able to trade Jacobs straight up for CeeDee Lamb. Amon-Ra St. Brown's wide receiver 9. Like that's not going to happen, right?
No.
Yeah.
Not in this.
And you mentioned that Jacobs is in the top, but points per game, he's RB 17. And that was with an 11 target game. So I think
if you're
in context.
Right.
And he hasn't had his bye yet either.
That's why I was saying, that's why I listed the wide receiver 2s, not the wide, that's why I was like, you're not going to get a wide receiver 1. So you got to go wide receiver 2 range. How about like in points per game, let's say, Michael Pittman would be a good example of, he's wide receiver 12, but in points per game, he's wide receiver 16. Jacobs for Pittman?
Yeah.
Could try that.
Good with that. I'm good with Ayuk. I'm good with Evans.
Ayuk's right there too. Ayuk's in points per game, wide receiver 14.
Mm-hmm.
Totally down.
Marquise Brown?
With Kyler coming back, I don't know if anybody wants to part with him.
Yeah.
The outlook, we talked about it obviously last week, and I was pretty bearish on him, but Kyler Murray's outlook probably upgrades him just a little bit. So I don't know. I feel like I would need another piece with Brown, but I get it. If you're desperate and you need to make a move, I don't particularly mind it.
Raheem Mostert for Jacoby Myers. Who says no?
I do.
Yeah, I think I would too.
You'd rather have Jacoby or Mostert? Mostert or Mike Evans?
I think the way
Mostert slightly.
Yeah, I think that the running back landscape just lends itself to holding on to Mostert, to be honest.
Plus, I give a lot of extra points to the Miami offense, basically being able to they're kind of in a funk right now as far as not being able to, they're good against the bad teams. They're not great against the good teams, but I still hold their offense in high regard as far as being able to just generate points and generate offense.
Yeah. So you think even like down the stretch, there's a real possibility that both Mostert and Achane can both be RB1s, right? That's the idea.
Borderline, yeah. I mean, we've already seen it when they're both on the field. When this offense is clicking, and then look, their playoff schedule is not great. Admittedly, Jets, Dallas, Baltimore. Like that's not a great fantasy playoff schedule. But I would rather trust Mike McDaniel to put these guys, at least through the season, put these guys in better positions to being able to generate offense than trust Jonathan Gannon and Kyler Murray and Marquise Brown.
Mm-hmm.
Fair.
For some reason,
now we've arbitrated that one trade. Yeah,
right. We've gone through the ins and outs. We Jonathan Gannon that trade. We looked at the film. We grinded. We ate some Cheez-Its. We were all good. For some reason, Allen and the Plague aren't throwing me off at all, but I just can't take Kev seriously with the Arthur Smith porn stash on his lip. Look, if you told Kevin, in his younger days when he was 17, that you'd be able to actually grow a mustache, you'd be laughed out of the building. So,
wait, is that real?
It's real.
No way.
It's spectacular. I'm not going to put it up to the thing, but it is.
You have to.
Oh my gosh. I did not think that was real.
They're real and they're spectacular.
Dynamite dropping. Brian Burns. Love it. But yeah. So that's my mustache origin story, I guess. Let's talk about, because one of the quarterbacks who we'll be talking about when we build our showdown lineup is Will Levis, who looked pretty damn not bad. I guess that's the nicest way I can say.
Yeah.
Pretty damn not bad. It's not exactly the highest bar to clear, but look, he threw 4 touchdowns, 3 of them to DeAndre Hopkins, who, by the way, never turning down a chance to put a Houston Oilers jersey on the thumbnail. So I just want to make that perfectly clear. But look, is Ryan Tannehill getting this job back? Because I don't think so, guys.
I think that he is.
I don't think there's any reason to.
Well, there's not any reason to, but it's again coaching mismanagement, because the entire soundbite is that Will Levis will start only if Tannehill is not ready to go. So it still seems like they're committed to him, as dumb as that is. And I will also say, and pour a little bit of water on the Will Levis fire, that Marcus Mariota also began his career with 4 touchdowns and no interceptions. And we know how that turned out. So I think this might have just been a case of nobody having film on Levis in the system, and they didn't really know how to plan for it. I don't think that Levis is the answer, or he would already be starting over Tannehill with as piss poor as his performance has been so far this season.
Yeah. Well, I will say this. Will Levis is a guy that we kind of comped to Jay Cutler as like big arm, bad decisions, bad mechanics need to be polished. That's exactly what I saw this weekend. I saw Jay Cutler throwing off his back foot, right? And he was getting away with it. DeAndre Hopkins was getting behind everybody. He had a couple throws that were dropped. He also had a couple throws that should have been interceptions. So what I will say for Will Levis is, am I going to pick him up in my single QB leagues and potentially start him? Probably not, unless things are really ugly and I just need to, try for anything. But I think Will Levis is more fun for fantasy football. Like, this guy is willing to let it fly, clearly. I wouldn't be surprised if he came out on Thursday and threw 3 touchdown passes. I wouldn't be surprised if he came out on Thursday and threw 5 interceptions, right? But at least it's something that he's shaking things up. I mean, DeAndre Hopkins had 0 touchdowns coming into this week, scored 3. And anyone that watched the game knows this guy has an absolute cannon of an arm, right?
Yeah.
I mean, for the rest of the year, even if Tannehill's starting, if they're in a Hail Mary situation, this guy's the guy throwing it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Like Will Levis was, if you guys have seen Pleasantville, like Ryan Tannehill is like the black and white, and then Will Levis is when they finally can see in color. That's pretty much what Will Levis is at this point, where maybe he makes something out of some of the ancillary guys if he's able to chuck the ball up. Traylon Burks, little action there, maybe. Who says no? I'm trying. It's the best I can do. I will not, as Arthur Smith, I will not dive into the Marcus Mariota. He was a great player for our team, when he was here. But we have the guys in our roster right now that we are preparing for a game for Minnesota for.
Coach, can we ask you how Bijan Robinson will be used in this game?
He's going to be used like any of the other running backs that we have on our roster. He's a member of this team, and he's going to be used as such. We have 3 great running backs on our team. We're very fortunate to have those guys, Bijan Robinson, Algier, and CP. And it's going to be a hard fought. Minnesota has a great stable of running backs as well. So we got to go kind of toe to toe with them. But Bijan is definitely part of our game plan, and we have to roll with the punches. It's going to be a tough game versus the Vikings.
Oh my gosh. We do have a question in the chat for Coach Smith. Why do you hate Kyle Pitts?
I do not hate Kyle Pitts. He's a very, very value member of our team here. Certainly gets involved with our offensive game plan. We got a lot of guys that we do want to get the ball to as well. Of course, Drake London, Johnny Smith, Michael Pruitt. Van Jefferson is a massive, massive part of our team, of course. Kadero Hodge, we want to make sure we get the ball to him in space as much as we can. We want to shout out Frank Darby on our practice squad, I'm sure. I'm not sure if he's still on our practice squad, but if he is, he's a huge, huge part of our team. So everybody is a huge part of our team. Just want to make that very clear.
I will say this, Plague Doctor, do we have any update on the Drake London injury? Because with Drake London out, Van Jefferson did lead the team in routes run.
I still have not heard anything about London. And I've been watching that very closely because Hodge was in my waiver wire article. And so I've been watching to make updates if appropriate. So far, haven't heard anything.
Yeah.
In typical Arthur Smith fashion.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, he won't tell us anything. So I don't know if he's out. I was looking at it, and Matt Collins clearly on the back burner. It's either going to be Hodge or Van Jefferson, but I do like that Van Jefferson ran 34 routes. It's not too bad.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Yeah, we love getting our guys out there for a lot of exercise. Van Jefferson's certainly one of them. Kadero Hodge, Matt Collins. I don't know if you know this about Matt Collins, but he doesn't like wear shoes. But we do make him wear shoes on the field. So that is very important for the lower body health. We want to make sure that Matt Collins is wearing shoes on game day, and we certainly do that. He did come out with one cleat. That's why we have kind of scaled him back in our offensive game plan to Van Jefferson, who we are just going to feature as the number 1 guy at wide receiver if Drake London is not available to go. But still early in the week. Got a great game against Minnesota. They have a tremendous, tremendous group of pass catchers.
A lot of questions coming in for Coach here. Here's another one. Coach Smith, if you have the chance, will you draft Caleb Williams to be Ritter's backup?
Guys, come on. I know you've got a job to do. Look, I got a job I got to do too. We're not in the business. I know this better than a lot of people. We're not in the business of talking about players that aren't on our team. We want the guys that are in the building. Desmond Ridder, Taylor Heineke. We're going to be talking about those guys. We're not going to be talking about guys that aren't on our team. Come on. We know better than this. I know, Dustin, I know you got a job to do. I understand that. I get it. I have a job to do as well.
I should fire you and burn down your friggin' house.
It burns. Here's another one for Coach. Coach, if you could only start one candy bar this Halloween, which one would it be?
Plain Hershey's chocolate.
Just candy corn.
We don't allow candy corn in our house.
Plain Hershey's chocolate. Britt, what candy? What candy would you start if you could only start one?
It's between Snickers and Reese's peanut butter cups. There's not a start. They're both going to have a role in this offense.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, dude.
Reese's are pretty good too.
With Reese's, man, like you forget. Every time I have one, I forget how good it is until I take a bite, and then I'm like, "This is just delicious poison."
Yeah.
Shout out to there's one candy out there with one huge red flag holding it back. But I will say this: one of the tastiest candies is 100% Butterfinger. Butterfinger is a good candy, but it just absolutely obliterates your teeth. It gets so in your teeth that it's like a good beer with a bad aftertaste. That's what Butterfinger is. If they could just figure that out, then Butterfinger would be top tier, dude.
I would throw Almond Joys in there too, because I don't like almonds, but those are good. And I don't really, I mean, Mounds are all right as the dark chocolate variety, but not a big fan of nuts. But you know, as my dad would say, shape up or ship out. One day delivery.
For those unaware, Arthur Smith's dad is the founder of FedEx. So Arthur Smith, kind of a silver spoon guy for sure. Let's put it this way: Arthur Smith does not need to work in the NFL. He doesn't need to work at all.
Great cash, homie.
I do it because I love the job. I love coming in to work every day with these 53-man roster. You know, big game this week. Do it for the love of the game.
I love it. I did say on the Fantasy Alarm show the other day that Arthur Smith was a trust fund kid cosplaying as an NFL coach.
Maybe not wrong.
I may have $1 billion in my trust fund, but I do this because I love it. So, you know, I know, Britt, I know you get a job to do. I know you're, you know, hardworking journalist and fantasy football analyst, but, you know, we're just trying to keep this everything focused on the Minnesota game this week.
Yeah, I will say that, like, when you look at Arthur Smith, like his path, it's kind of hard to believe that this guy didn't have some help from the fact that his dad is like really well connected and super rich. I mean, when you go to Wikipedia pages and look at coaches, it's always like, you know, they work at their college and then they are in college for a long time. Like this guy went from North Carolina. This is his coaching career. North Carolina, where he was at school, he was a graduate assistant while he was basically in school. And then the very next year, so that's 2006, very next year, he got a job as the defensive quality control coach for the Washington Redskins. Like, pretty big jump there, no?
Yeah.
Like,
somebody called in some
immediately-
favors.
Somebody definitely has got some friends, dude. Just immediately to go straight from being a graduate assistant to working for an NFL team. And then, of course, then he did the quick trip to Ole Miss and then right into the Titans, right? So, like, this guy, I mean, I'm sure that was the game plan all along to be a coach or whatever, but I mean, that jump, I feel like, you know, that's a pretty big jump right out of college, right?
Yep. That's huge. Oh, guys.
What's up?
Cardinals are sending Josh Dobbs to the Vikings.
There it is.
I knew it. I knew that was happening. Okay, we got some more spice to talk about here. Arthur,
we have to prepare for
about facing Josh Dobbs.
Yeah, we have to prepare for Josh Dobbs just like we prepare for everybody else on that team. He's certainly an accomplished quarterback in the first 6-7 games of his Cardinals career. He does head to Minnesota, so we will certainly prepare for him. We have a lot of tape. We're getting it directly from Jonathan Gannon, who I know is a noted film grinder. So we will be making sure that we get the best possible all-22 film on Josh Dobbs as we go and play the Minnesota Vikings. Very good pickup for the Vikings.
I'm loving that. That's great news. So, and that's huge for folks in Superflex, like Superflex leagues. Like, hey, Josh Dobbs, the dream is still alive, dude. I mean, upgrade, in fact, right? Goes to a better offense, better team, better weapons.
Does that downgrade Madison maybe a little bit? Because you know Dobbs' propensity to run the ball.
He does, yeah.
Maybe just slightly, but I mean, Addison, you're probably figuring he's more of a low-end wide receiver too anyway. As far as like volatility, consistency, etc. But you know, I don't see that being a massive downgrade from Kirk Cousins. I mean, obviously we want a Jameis Winston in there, but that's almost the next best thing to get Dobbs in there.
Mm-hmm. At least he hasn't been sitting on the couch.
Right.
Yeah. Good call, Hal. Yeah. And I'll tell you this, like for Hawkinson, I mean, this guy just threw 14 targets to Trey McBride this week. So Hawk, back on the menu, baby. Let's go.
Definitely good news for Hawkinson.
And
Sellers in the chat saying we called it. We were literally talking about this last night. As soon as news broke that the flip happened, that Gannon was like, well, actually, Dobbs isn't going to start. It's going to be Murray. And I was like, could you be any more transparent about trading away Dobbs? Because this is exactly what's happening. I was cooking dinner and I was cutting up stuff. And I was like, Dobbs to the Vikings, Dobbs to the Vikings. Da, 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 da.
There we go.
It happened.
Yeah. Quessy's cooking too. What did he trade for? What was the trade? Was it like just a conditional 7th or something? Or
They did not elaborate. It
just agreed
says,
to terms.
It just said, per Ian Rappaport, the Cardinals are sending Josh Dobbs to the Vikings. And that was the only news that we got.
Awesome.
There you go. All right. Well, let's find out what that's for. I'm sure it's nothing crazy, but yeah, dude, Dobbs back on the menu, man.
There we go.
Got a lot to prepare for in our game against Minnesota this week.
That's right.
Caden, the Colts fan, do I move AJB for Kupp and Laporta? Tight end is Logan Thomas. Don't know if I'd be moving, even for Kupp and Laporta, don't know if I'd be moving AJ Brown in this economy the way he's going right now. In the 2v2, I know it's a tough 2v2 where I'd probably rather have Kupp or Laporta. I don't think you're losing that much with Logan Thomas, just based on how much the Commanders' offense is throwing the ball. Target, quantity is certainly there. AJ Brown is on a massive run right now. Don't know if he can do that.
AJ Brown just set the record for consecutive 125-yard games. And I'll tell you what, I was actually a little worried about AJ Brown because Vegas, when you looked around before the season, all the lines were set at 1,000 yards. Dude, he almost has 1,000 yards right now.
Imagine being worried about AJ Brown.
Right. And the thing is, he would come out and like when you watch these games, it's not even that it's scheme or anything like that. Like AJ Brown is just, he's not even getting open. Like the ball is just going up and then he just goes and
he is a grown ass man.
Yeah. It doesn't even matter. Like separation for this guy, it's nothing. Like they just throw it up in his vicinity and he just finds a way to go get it. So AJ Brown is so locked in right now. You can't trade him, dude. Can't trade him. Not even for Laporta.
0.7 and 0.9 yards of separation. Doesn't even matter.
Who cares? Yeah, it's like, hey, I feel like he's almost doing it on purpose, where he's just like, you get it.
Bro.
I mean, we've seen guys who are able to maneuver like that in the past. AJ Green, not Brown, a different AJ color, used to be very good at that, where he would almost play games with wide receivers, where he would have his hands like here, and then right when the ball would show up, he would go, boom, and catch it over here. Right. Yep. Or he would, get in real tight on a guy so that he could box him out. Right. We've seen DeAndre Hopkins do that too. So separation is not the end all be all if the quarterback's willing to just chuck it up to you.
Like there was not it was Calvin Johnson, but like after Calvin Johnson, like prime AJ Green was just
so good.
A stud.
Right. That's the thing is the two, Megatron is the top tier of prospect for wide receivers. The next two wide receivers that I consider to be in the next tier since I've been watching in terms of prospects coming in were both in the same draft, and they're both drafted in the first round. And it was AJ Green, and the guy that played for your team, Arthur.
Yeah, absolutely. And by the way, I am getting some questions here. I'm not sure I appreciate some of the slander here. I'm not worried about my mustache. I'm just worried about our massive game against the Minnesota Vikings, who just acquired a quarterback in Josh Dobbs. So, that's the last thing I'm worried about. I know you got a job to do. Last thing I'm worried about is the facial hair on my face. And then Hal, of course. Coach, if you have a job to do, why are you so remiss to do it well or even improve that? Look, Hal, we're just trying to improve week to week. That's all we can do here. We're just in the building every day, just getting better day by day, hour by hour, minute by minute. That's all we can do.
Yeah.
That's all we can do. And then also we have one more quarterback to hit, and then we will build a showdown lineup here. But look, the eye test. We always talk about the eye test and how these guys, especially with quarterbacks, like guys that look like they belong. Tyson Bagent, I think, belongs at least in the league. So I think, even I know Justin Fields is going to be playing in the next week or two, but I don't mind seeing Tyson Bagent out there. I know the team is rallied around him. I know he's probably not getting more than like one more start if he does, but I don't mind Tyson Bagent. I think he's looked pretty solid for a D2 guy who. How many D2 guys get a start like in their rookie season? Like it was like him and like somebody from like the 60s or something.
I think we're hyping him up based on that storyline, though. Like when you look at his numbers, sure, his completion percent is okay, but his depth of target and what he's actually doing with the ball is just not impressive. Like, sure, it's impressive. You came from Shepherd. You came from a D2 school. Your dad's like an arm wrestling champion, which is just a weird, fun fact in and of itself. But I think his actual performance, I think that we're choosing to buoy him by the story, aside from his actual gameplay.
Yeah, it's true. I mean,
That's fair.
the one you think you can run with is that there are guys that come from D2 and D3. If they put up exceptionally crazy numbers, which Bagent, of course, did the most touchdowns. What is the most touchdowns anyone's ever thrown in college? And you had guys like Pierre Garcon from Mount Union and these guys. But I will say, Britt, you're right that like we get so carried away that this guy he's still at best a below average NFL quarterback. Right. Which, I mean, to Kev's point, if you're a below average NFL quarterback, all you have to be is in the, 25 to 50th percentile and you can be in the league. Right. It's like there's only 32 starting quarterback jobs, but the Bears subreddit and some of these communities that are just going crazy for this guy saying that like, now we have a quarterback controversy, all this stuff. It's like, no. What you might have is a quarterback.
It's a backup quarterback for the next 5 years.
Right. A quarterback that you might not be able to re-sign, and somebody else will pay money like Jimmy Garoppolo. That's what you might have, but you already have a quarterback. It's Justin Fields.
Right.
Yep.
Exactly. I mean, for right now, they might have two top 3 picks that who knows that they might use one on a quarterback, but that's neither here nor there. Caden does have another question, by the way. How about Howell? Should I ride with him in my super flex? I mean, he's already got Lawrence as far as his rest of his team, but yeah, I mean, just with the passing volume there, number 1 in pass rate over expected for the Washington Commanders. Totally down to ride him. Yeah, you might get some lows, but you might get the highs of what you saw this week. So definitely a viable mid-range QB2.
Yeah, I caution people that with not just Howell, but all the weapons in Washington, as Kevin mentioned with the pass rate, it is way over any other team. To put in perspective, this team, in terms of calling dropbacks, so he gets sacked a lot, he throws it away a lot, but in terms of calling pass plays, they've called 50 more than the next closest team. So they are number 2 right now is Pat Mahomes, and he's dropped back over 50 more times than Mahomes. So for that, I'm not sure that can continue at that rate. But yeah, I mean, Howell, at least he can get you a rushing touchdown. He's willing to throw it up to John Dotson. So yeah, you got to start Howell at the Superflex unless you have like a ton of studs. You're not going to start Zay Flowers right over Sam Howell in a Superflex league, are you?
No.
So you're good there. A couple more questions for Coach in here, and then let's make a team.
Let's do it. What we got?
George says, "Hey, Coach, I just think you're doing a great job. Have a great day."
Hey, thank you, George. Appreciate it. We're just out here grinding here in Atlanta. We got a big game against Minnesota, so appreciate your kind words.
Hal wants to know if he still has team credentials.
You do for now. We're just giving them out willy-nilly apparently, but you've got it for now. So as long as you can get in the building, I think you're good.
There you go. All right, let's get a team going.
Let's do that. You said I do not have to recuse myself for the NFL's gambling policy.
Yeah, you're all set, Arthur.
All right, sweet. All right, so let's see what we're doing here. Everybody can see it fine. We're good.
Will Levis, captain. All right, that's settled.
We did just get news that broke that Kenny Pickett is expected to play, by the way.
He is.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Deontay Johnson, target machine.
Down with it. I'm good with no Pittsburgh running back here.
No.
Yep.
I was hoping that Jaylen Warren would have a because the Jaguars are good versus the run, but they don't have a ton of receptions to the running backs. I was hoping Warren would get a ton of work in that regard, but they split it down the middle, 5 targets apiece, so didn't really do.
Although, is there some merit to playing more Steelers pieces because of the pass funnel?
I was actually thinking double defense.
And nothing else. Defense, kicker, and then
No,
we'll start.
not kicker, but definitely getting a
I'd
double
play Nick
D in
Folk.
there.
Defense, kicker has won before, by the way. It was that game.
We're hoping for like a 10-3 game.
Yeah. What was that Colts game with no touchdowns?
The Colts Broncos.
Yeah.
Where they're leaving with like 7 minutes left.
I think the team that won was kicker, defense for that one.
Okay, also we got some more news on the Vikings quarterback situation. Kevin O'Connell says on SiriusXM that the team is preparing Jaren Hall to start this week. Says it's possible that Josh Dobbs can be ready to play. So a whole lot of nothing we got with that.
Kill the messenger. Change it, Britt.
I'm just glad the heat is off me. So we can go out and prepare for Jaren Hall, like we prepare for every quarterback that we face.
Yeah. Okay. Then let's start with our ringer here. These are the ringer level options, I think, for price wise. Connor Hayward is running some routes. He's absolutely he needs a touchdown. Chikakonkwo got open, dropped a play that was guaranteed 40-50 yards last week. And also Treylon Burks took his job back from Nick Westbrook-Akine. He didn't run as many routes as DeAndre Hopkins, but he ran the second most routes on the team. It's clear that he is the second wide receiver in town. Didn't really do anything, but that could mean that people are off him. And with his play, like with the amount he's playing, it's entirely possible, I would say. Not for captain, but like we got to mix in somebody at that price point. Those guys at least are playing. All three of those guys at least are playing a good chunk of snaps, and a touchdown is obviously within a range of outcomes.
Yep. Are we going Hopkins as well?
If we go Hopkins, we got to start Will Levis.
Well, he's in the captain.
Oh, we're doing it? Hell yeah, let's go. I was just joking, but yeah, let's do it. I'm fully on board, and I'm
good with that. And then my only thing is Johnson versus Pickens as far as like ownership, because the slappies will just put in Deontay Johnson, seeing like if they're looking at the box score. But I mean, I do like Pickens over him as far as a play, just because I think he will be less owned, and he's only $400 more expensive. We're already saving a lot of salary.
Why not both?
Why not both? 3,400. That gets us into like Westbrook-Akine. It gets us Cam Hayward or Connor Hayward. I want to say Cam Hayward.
Wait, who else do we have in there? The defense? I can't see what these things on.
We have Levis, Deontay, Hopkins, Burks, Pickens with 3,400.
Oh, we put in both of them. Oh, we put Burks in.
Do we take Burks out? That gives us a defense and a cheap piece.
Now let's start Burks. It's more fun to root for Burks. Right, Britt?
Yeah.
And then Hayward. That's pretty much the only realistic option, I feel like.
Yeah.
So we're doing that without the quarterback, which is probably best, honestly.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I don't know, chat. What are you guys feeling? Vikings gave us so trade is in. I'm not sure if you guys saw this. Dustin says Viking gave a 6th and the 7th, 6 for Dobbs in the 7th. That's like nothing.
Yeah,
that's nothing. Although we do love our our late round picks. Certainly we want to. Every member of our 53-man roster is valuable, whether it's first man up, last man in. So yeah.
All right,
but I do like this. I like this lineup.
Yeah, I'm feeling good about it, man. So yeah, interesting. I wonder if there's any other trade. What do you guys think about the Bears trading for Montez Sweat? Did they Do they think they're competing?
Did they not learn from Chase Claypool?
Yeah.
I just know that it screws me because he's my defensive lineman, and I don't know if he's going to play this week, so I may have to drop him and pick up another lineman. So not super happy about that, but
Ryan Poles has been making some pretty questionable moves, in my opinion, over there with the Bears. Like, look at Howie Roseman. He's been crushing with the Eagles. Like,
Nobody.
drafting.
It's the point where nobody wants to trade with him because what do you know that I don't? It's like the Tampa Bay
Right.
Rays thing.
Yeah.
People don't want to trade with them because like what do you know that I don't about this player? Like turns like into a 3-time All-Star.
Analytics, dude. You get analytic on. So like, I mean, like, got to be loving what Howie Roseman does. I think that Brad Holmes does a great job. I think that the Rams group that he left still does a great job. But some of these teams, the Panthers, man. I mean, I wonder what the Panthers' plan is here. You go out like Miles Sanders, say what you will. Like as of right now, he's looking like a terrible signing, obviously, because even if he's hurt, like he's going out there doing nothing. And you signed all these guys. DJ Chark is one of the younger options. He's doing nothing. Terrace Marshall doesn't even play. The one guy that's doing well is Adam Thielen, but is he even going to be part of the team when it's time for you to compete? So, like, what exactly is the plan? Some of these guys, I feel like they don't have an act. And now they're saying they're going to go out and trade for a wide receiver like they're going to win now. Is that – do they still think that the Panthers still think they're going to win now? Like, it just blows my mind some of the approaches that these teams have. Whereas I watch the Dolphins tank, I watched the Rams tank, I watched the Lions tank, and then they turned around and rebuilt it all the right way. And the Rams won a Super Bowl, and now the Lions and Dolphins are contending. I mean, look around at the teams doing it right, and then I look around at some of these teams, and I'm just like, what in the heck are they doing? What
Exactly?
What do
That's
the Bears
why
think? Do the Bears and Panthers think they're going to win? These two teams trading with each other, like, you know what I mean? Like, you're not winning a damn thing, dude.
You know, the one thing they will say is they're all professionals at the end of the day, just trying to win some ball games, put some food on our tables, and be thankful we're part of this league-wide fraternity we call the NFL.
Arthur Smith.
Well said, Coach.
Yeah, well said. You said saying a whole lot of nothing, just like Arthur. What a legend.
You know, I had to watch a couple press conferences, not gonna lie, to try to get because he's pretty soft spoken in front of the microphone, and he's got a little bit of a twang. I think he's from Memphis. Obviously, that's where FedEx is headquartered. But yeah, it was so some deep diving, but definitely can't wait to get some facial hair back on my face.
Yeah, you deserve it.
It's
All right,
weird.
I think that's good for us, right?
That is good for us. We're going to bounce here. Not something Arthur Smith would say, but I digress. Stay tuned for Alarm Fantasy Football at the top of the hour with Alien Cooper and Howard Bender. So that should be a lot of fun. Britt, anything else before we hop on out?
Yeah, check us out on SiriusXM, 5 to 7 p.m. Eastern today. It'll be an extra special spooky show.
Extra spooky.
Spooky.
We're a little bit spooked by Jaron Hall getting the start this week, but got to prepare for him. Prepare yourself to check out Alarm Fantasy Football at the top of the hour. For Alien Cooper, for Britt Flinn, I am Arthur Smith, and it's something that Arthur Smith would never say. Toodles.